And all of a sudden, he dumped Israel. That's what he's doing. He dumped Israel.
Well, he's not walking away, but what would be in light of...
but wouldn't you say he is walking away? I mean, he just said, essentially, that Bibi Netanyahu should take a walk.
Former President Trump blasting President Biden's handling of the Israel-Gaza war. For more on this, I'm joined by former Secretary of State and Fox News contributor Mike Pompeo. Mr. Secretary, welcome.
Mike, great to be with you this afternoon.
So in addition to the military conflict in Gaza, you've also got this political back and forth between Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Let's play it, and I'll get you to react to it.
I believe a new election is the only way to allow for a healthy and open decision-making process about the future of Israel.
It's inappropriate, shouldn't have been said, it's wrong. As far as my considerations, they're not for my personal survival, they are for the survival of the Jewish state.
Is this the time for American political leaders to be pushing for political change in Israel, sir?
Mike, it's pretty remarkable to hear the Senate Majority Leader call for regime change in a democracy, right? What he's essentially asking for is an American demand that they hold an election where he thinks the outcome will be somehow different or better for the people of Israel. It was incomprehensible for me to see this. I can promise you this. Hamas leadership loved those comments. The leadership in Tehran and Iran, the folks that are underwriting these terrorists who committed these barbaric acts on October 7th, they thought those comments were fantastic because it undermines Israel's capacity to do the necessary, to go out and take down Hamas. It's incomprehensible to me to hear what Senator Schumer said. I don't understand what his objective was, and he sold out the people of Israel in their effort to defend themselves.
To another huge story, the situation in Haiti. You saw that off the top of the show. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is expressing concern about how the crisis in Haiti could impact Florida. Let's play that.
Florida Fish and Wildlife officers interdicted a vessel that had 25 illegal immigrants, potential illegal immigrants from Haiti. They had firearms, they had drugs, they had night vision gear, and those illegal aliens were turned over to the Coast Guard for deportation.
Mr. Secretary, what are your concerns about the crisis in Haiti and the impact on Florida and the broader United States?
Well, Mike, Florida Governor DeSantis certainly handled that appropriately and correctly. This is a real national security threat. The chaos that you just saw the reporting on, 80% of the city, at least of Port-au-Prince, the capital of Haiti, now under the control of gangs, lawlessness. What you have now very close to the United States is ungoverned territory with no government. That is a deep national security threat. And make no mistake, the Venezuelans, the Cubans, the Chinese, the Russians will all work to make this difficult for the United States. And so we need President Biden to do what Governor DeSantis did, to make clear we're not going to allow these flotillas of gangs to make their way into the United States, and then to support an effort, not to throw money at this problem set. We've thrown money at the Haitian problem for decades. We need a political solution. We need the governments in the region to take charge of this. And then we need to make sure we do what's right to put American people first and make sure that we don't end up with these gangs and these drugs on our shores.
Then there's the issue of China and TikTok. Here's GOP Senator Mike Rounds on that one.
The best approach would be if they were to divest and to allow for American ownership. If not, then we're probably going to have to eliminate it from the platforms.
What is your take on the future of TikTok, sir?
So this is pretty straightforward. The United States cannot permit any media outlet, any government control of an adversary government like TikTok, like the Chinese Communist control of ByteDance, the parent company for TikTok. And so the right outcome is that TikTok become a non-Chinese owned, non-Chinese controlled. It's possible to do. The markets will present an opportunity to do that. I hope that the leadership of ByteDance will come to see that's the only alternative that is acceptable, that's going to work. I can't figure out why the Chinese Communist Party says they have nothing to do with TikTok and yet is opposed to a commercial transaction. It's really quite something. In the end, we can't let this propaganda be foisted on our young people, and we have the capacity to prevent that from happening. And I hope the ownership of ByteDance will find a way to get there.
A hearing is scheduled Tuesday in House Foreign Affairs on the withdrawal from the war in Afghanistan. What are your expectations, sir, and what can be learned from that withdrawal, which obviously many American families are frustrated about?
What we can learn is this, is that America abandoning Afghanistan and the way that President Biden chose to do that got not only more than a dozen Americans killed, but now you see the Taliban in total control, and the risk to the United States is even greater. What President Biden did, setting a firm date and withdrawing under such massive chaos that you've now shown the video of again to remind the American people. I hope the House committee will focus on that decision and that process. It was the right thing to do to begin to wind our way out of Afghanistan now for 20 years. We did the counterterrorism effort. We had achieved a large part of what we needed to. But to leave Bagram Air Force Base, to leave Americans behind, to leave now what is at least $5 to $10 billion in equipment behind, did enormous damage to the United States. And I think the Russian leadership and the Chinese leadership all saw that weakness as well, Mike.
Former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, thank you so much for your time and your analysis today.
Thank you,
sir.
Mike. Happy day.
Thank you,